Third time's the charm. All right. Telling you, third time's the charm. So the idea here, we're going to start with basic ones in this video. Some basic node construction so you can start seeing how nodes go together, so you can start thinking about ways to improve your workflow, other nodes you should create on the side to help with what you're doing. What I mean by that is you're going to notice there's things you'll do repetitively that you'd be like, hey, I could condense this and make it into a node. What do I mean condensing into making something into a node? Every time you create a substance, a graph, every time you create a graph, you can always drag and drop that graph into a new graph, and that's what creates a node. So like if we go to this node here that I created, this is our cloth node. So this has all of our cloth materials in it. If you right click it, open reference, this is how you backwards engineer anything. Just go ahead and hit open reference, go ahead and open. You'll see, okay, this is how it was made. This is the graph where this lives, and then you could click on this node and see, all right, where does this live? Open reference. All right, so you keep going back until you hit the root of, well, everything started with this node. So that's a good way to start learning, is to actually see how people do stuff and see if you can copy it. But before you can really know what you need, you kind of need to start building some simple stuff. And just start with the basics. So the basics would be making a material. So what I did here, well, actually we could just start over real quick. Spacebar, always your friend. And that's where you're usually going to start for your graph. If you don't have any texture inputs or anything, which we're not going to even deal with, you're just going to deal just with substance for this. And we're just going to create some basic nodes just so you can start understanding what you're looking for, what you're looking at, and other things you might need. There's so many different conclusions to come to in Substance Designer. Everyone's process is going to be a little different. There's going to be trade-offs to everyone's process. Someone might have better performance, another person just might have better results, but it takes longer. There's a lot, that's a lot there. So let's go to just start by the basics. Spacebar, like I said, always your friend. Uniform color. Alright, you have two options, grayscale or color. If it's going to be grayscale, just leave it as grayscale. Control D to duplicate. We'll have two. So, one of which, let's make this a metal. Okay. And let's go ahead and have the glossiness be somewhere around there, or the roughness. And we need a uniform color. We'll make that like some purple. Alright, now to view it in your actual 3D view, just go ahead and right click and view output in 3D, and there goes our material. Now you can also adjust any more that you need. We can adjust our roughness. Our color might be a little bit too bright here. Don't forget, with dealing with metallic roughness, the albedo, or your diffuse, affects the luminosity of the light reflecting off the color. I don't know if that's exactly the right terminology, but the value of your color affects the light reflection you're going to see. So if we make this a little brighter, see how it gets kind of out there. Alright, let's do something like that. Alright, so now we have three basic colors for this material. So now we can just add noise, right? Let's add some noise. So you can either type in noise, grunge, things like that. This library, there's all kinds of things in the library. Get used to it. Look for things, search for things. It might already be in there. If it's not in there, look into creating something. Alright, so let's make cells. No, don't like that. What's cell for? Okay, that's cool. Alright, so this is what we want to blend together. Let's make some type of a anodized metal that is galvanized. That's what I was looking for, that word. So to add these two nodes, spacebar. always start with spacebar before you search for something. You know, get used to what you have in here. So we have a blend. So you want to blend it together. So this is going to be our base color. This is going to be what we're overlaying. Okay. Now, as you see, it's broken. This red line means, hey, this isn't going to work. Why is that? Well, that's because you have a colored node and a black and white node going together, and Substance Designer does not like that. So what you can do is go ahead and click your cell, hit spacebar, and go to gradient map. If you see, if you have a node already selected and you add a node through spacebar, it'll automatically connect it for you. So now you have two colored nodes. With those two color nodes, your map now works. No more red dotted line. You also have grayscale conversion to go the other way, which is right here. Grayscale conversion. Alright. We're going to go ahead and, let's say, multiply. Okay. So now we have another addition to our diffuse. Let's go ahead and change this to a rounded cube. Okay. So cool. We already have a cool effect going. Well, now we kind of want this to affect our roughness as well. Not so much the metallic. Or maybe you do want it to affect your metallic. Up to you. Let's go ahead and spacebar again. Blend. Go ahead and attach our background color. And attach our cells to the top. And we'll go ahead and multiply that as well. And attach. Okay. So now our roughness changes a little bit based on which pattern it goes over. Now maybe that's a little bit too intense for you. So in between there, we can go ahead and click it, hit spacebar, add a levels in between. As you see, it's adding it to here and here. We don't want that. So we'll reroute this one here. Keep this one here. Go ahead and adjust our levels. I don't want any like really darks in there, just because they'll be really glossy. Let's do something like that. Another thing you can do is we could drop the opacity on this side. Alright, maybe this is a little too intense. Let's actually drop this one's opacity, so it's like this. Alright. So you see, we're already starting to create a very basic base texture, base substance, whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and get rid of this base here. So ways to clean this up. So solid colors, things like that, like this gradient map. This is just kind of here as a filler. This is just here to convert real quick. We're not actually using any information. If you press D, you can dock it to the node that it's attached to. You can press D again to undock it. You can't dock this one though, because it goes to two places. So keep that in mind. Again, this level's not really using it. We can undock it if we plan to go back. And that kind of frees up some space. Alright, so what's next? Well, I kind of want to add some normal map information, some type of warping on the surface. So how should we do that? We don't even have a normal map output, right? Well, go ahead and hit spacebar. Normal. Now we have some, sorry, not yet. Spacebar, output. So now we have an output node. Well, we need to tell it, remember what the output is. We'll go up to here to add item, normal. Now we have a normal map thing. We can go ahead and name it normal if we need to. Try to name stuff soon, otherwise down the line there's going to be too much to name. Alright, so now we have a new output for that. Let's go ahead and add... Let's see this. What is this? Yeah, let's try this. Alright, so I'm going to use this black and white image and turn it into a normal map. Just go ahead and hit spacebar. Normal. And go ahead and pipe this in. There you go. You got a normal map. Let me go ahead and pipe this over here. We'll right click, view output in 3D. Good to go. Now you're going to notice that the background is empty. This is okay. Don't worry about it. You can change your intensity here. We can make it more intense, So this is looks like a wrinkled piece of paper metal. You drop the intensity, so on and so forth. But as you notice, having a background doesn't matter. Now, if it really does bother you, or you're getting a weird problem, you could do normal color, which is just the basic color of normal, and do a normal blend. Is it blend or combined? Actually, I think it's combined. Nope, it is blend. Probably because I grabbed the wrong one for the second time. There it is. Alright. So we'll go ahead and combine those normals, put it here. You're going to notice it kind of changes a little bit. So really the reason why it does that is so it's easier for you to put multiple together and then, you know, put it on top of like a normal map you already have that's existing. If you have a model in here or if you're piping something else through. So let's go ahead and bring this up a little. Alright. So there goes a very quick basic way to create something, and you got to see some of the nodes, some of the things to use. Now, if you wanted to do more things, like, alright, well, I kind of want this to be a little bit more warped. Well, if you hit spacebar, you can see there's a warp node in here. Okay, we can put a warp in here. We can go ahead and connect this here, and we see it's asking for a gradient input. Did I grab a directional warp? No, I didn't. What this means is it's going to warp based on black and white. So if we go ahead and find another map, or actually, let's use this map we already have. Let's do something interesting. Alright, so that's an interesting warp, and we can make it less. Because I think you could make it more if you type in stuff, so you can make it crazy. Obviously, that's way too much. You know, but we could do something crazy like that. I don't want to, but you can. Let's actually make it like something like that. Alright. And then we can just go ahead and replace where it's already piped. And there you go. Now you have another new effect. The thing you want to think about when you make a substance of any type is you just want to play. It's non-destructive. Just throw stuff down. See what works, see what doesn't. Some of your substances can get mad crazy. Like I had this one open in the other video, in the first video. This is the cape. Now I made a hexagrid pattern a while ago. Starts with a hexagon, then offset it, you know, so that it patterns properly. It's a little bit long. It needs to be shrank a little bit. But instead of making it a node, like this is the entire thing that creates this hex pattern here for that cape, including like a little bit of an edge effect, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it can get really crazy, and then you can actually usually come back in and be like, alright, I actually don't need this, I can use this as well, or I can use this to replace this, or this can run double duty, things like that. You know, like we have, jeez, this thing is so crazy. Yeah. And then it comes out, and I don't know why I have that output just hanging out. Oh, because that's the other output, but I think I piped it out sooner. Yeah, way over here, because I think I just used the normal map. But that's an example of, you know, a graph that goes out there. I mean, you'll see people with huge graphs. But just try. You know, there's no harm with throwing down some shapes. Another thing is if you go to bitmap from new resource, okay, you can actually make yourself a canvas to paint on. Awesome thing about this canvas, if you zoom out here, is that it tiles perfectly. Okay, so you can paint here. It's fully pin pressure, so if you have a Wacom, you can use a pin pressure thing. It has brushes. We come in here, there's different brush presets. Here we go. Artistic, bolt, crack, fur, blah blah blah. There's all kinds of stuff. Never used crack. I mean the brush or the drug. So you can also just kind of paint your own material if you need to, and you're gonna always know tiles with these. So possibilities are endless. Mess around with it. Next video, we're going to start talking about a little bit more advanced stuff. We're going to start talking about, well, intermediate, and when you're going to have to kind of start making decisions on how you plan to create a template, or how do you plan to integrate Substance Designer into a pipeline, and have it work, and have it make sense, and have your artists happy. You know, this can be very overwhelming. You know, take it from a person who is an artist. I guess I never explained that story. Take a real quick second. So, texturing is my favorite part of 3D modeling. I've always been a 3D modeler. I make it sound like I've been doing it for decades. I've been a 3D modeler for 7 years? 7 years, yeah, sure. Sounds good. Night, Tuna. And texturing was always my favorite part. I don't think 7 years. Yeah, something like that. And texturing always been my favorite part. Always been near and dear. I've been using Photoshop for 15 years. I've been using it since I was 13, yeah. And I just always loved it. And so when Algorithmic came in and they were pitching this program, I was sitting there and I was like, man, this is really how the direction the industry is going in. Like, they're alienating texturing. Like, this is going to be automated, and oh man, like, it was kind of depressing. Like, after he did his little speech and he showed us everything, it was cool to see it, but I was just like, man, like, so automated, so alienated. Like, I'm not going to be able to hand paint textures and, you know, add the cool little details. And I got home, and I'm definitely a ponderer. I ponder stuff. And I got home and I was thinking about it. I was thinking about what I saw, thinking about our pipeline we had at work, and I was like, man, there's so much here. There's so much here that this program could do. It's very powerful. Yes, there's a big learning curve. There's a lot to kind of think of, but the possibilities, the workflow, the time saving, everything is huge, you know, once you get over the learning hump. And that's kind of why I came back, you know, a few days later to my art director, and I was like, look, I think we could do these types of things with this. You know, we can make it so all our base colors are correct and the same, and everything has the same overlays on it. Then you can go back and add any extra things you want, you know, in Photoshop afterwards. But we can use Substance Designer to get you 80-90% of the way there with your texture in a few minutes, and then you'll just do whatever few little hand things you need to do, and then you'll be done. So I started jumping into it, started learning it, and fell in love with it. I still like to texture by hand, but I also respect and understand the power that Substance Designer and Substance Painter gives. Now, Substance Painter, a little bit different story, because you're still painting, you're still being, you know, you're still being an artist, you know, you're still directing the flow of the paint, things like this. It's not as alienating feeling, but this is, it's so powerful, and it makes sense, you know, and I think that's something that it takes time for the artists to, well, us artists to comprehend it and be like, okay, this does help. When I first introduced it to the artists here, they were like, I don't know. And then I started using it, started using the template nodes I made, and they're like, wow, I can get so close to being done so quickly, and then I can just go through, add whatever little things, add whatever decals to what I need to, and then move on to the next project. Like, this is expediting so much of our work so quickly. And that's good. It's awesome. All right. If you have questions, comments, leave them below. Hopefully I can get to them. Make a discussion. Hopefully this is helpful. In the next one, again, we're going to be going over a little bit intermediate nodes. Once I get through this boring type stuff, I just want to leave this stuff here, so if anyone ever has the questions, they can get it. Again, go to Algorithmic's YouTube channel. They also have great tutorials with Wes. I'm surprised how good their tutorials are, because usually you pay for those kind of tutorials, but it just shows the kind of company we're dealing with. You know, it's a good company. So yeah, leave comments, like, that'd be cool, just so I know that I'm not, you know, not talking to nobody. And after we get done with this in the intermediate, I'm gonna do like a step-by-step thought process of how I built everything, and actually probably release some nodes, maybe, if people are watching this. Maybe. Alright, take care. Have a good day. Or night.